A planet 124 light-years away hides something that stunned the entire scientific community. A chemical substance produced only by living organisms has been detected in its atmosphere. In Congress, a decorated military intelligence officer told lawmakers that his own government had recovered craft not made by humans, along with related biological material. At the same time, scientists found that UFOs appeared 45% more frequently near nuclear test sites. Scientists, governments, and the public no longer ask if aliens exist. They ask why it was hidden. Today, you'll finally discover it all. Signs of life in deep space. In April 2025, astronomers announced a discovery that stunned scientists worldwide. With the James Webb Space Telescope, they found a specific molecule in exoplanet K218b's air, 124 light-years away from Earth and Leo constellation. That molecule was dimethyl sulfide. And this should stun you. On Earth, here at home, only living organisms ever make it. Specifically, it is created by microscopic marine organisms like plankton that float in the ocean. Nothing else on our planet naturally produces this molecule. Absolutely nothing. So why is it showing up on a world more than 1 trillion kilometers away? And in enormous concentrations? The concentrations detected were not tiny traces. Scientists said the levels could be thousands of times higher than anything ever found in Earth's atmosphere. This is not a simple chemical accident. Something is actively making this molecule, maybe in big amounts. Now in another world's ocean. K218b is, scientists say, an ocean planet, nearly all deep, warm, hot ocean beneath a thick hydrogen-rich atmosphere. Researchers say these conditions could support microbial life, like the primitive microbes that first arose on Earth billions of years ago. The Cambridge team behind this research spent a long time trying to rule out this signal entirely. They checked for errors, retested the data, and reran the calculations multiple times. The signal remained every time. The results were published in the scientific journal, the Astrophysical Journal Letters, in April 2025. The lead scientist said confirmation could come within 1 to 2 years, based on telescope observations already scheduled. If that confirmation comes, it will not be just a scientific discovery. It will forever change how humanity understands its own place in the universe. And this is only the beginning of what we are covering today. The 1947 crash that will not go away. Back in July 1947, at a remote New Mexico ranch, a local rancher woke one morning to find unexplained debris scattered across his land with no explanation. Strange debris made of a material he had never seen before covered a vast stretch of desert. He warned local authorities. Soldiers arrived at once to retrieve everything. Official response seemed oddly fast to many. Within hours, the local military base issued a press release saying it had recovered a flying disc. Then, in one day, the narrative flipped, and officials insisted it was just a mere trial balloon. That official story has troubled minds for decades. In 2024, researchers conducting new fieldwork at the original Roswell crash site used metal detectors to locate small fragments buried several centimeters underground. The fragments were sent to an independent lab in Texas that specializes in aluminum metallurgy. The results turned out to be highly unusual. The metal was about 96% aluminum, yet held a specific mix of manganese, magnesium, and trace elements, matching no standard industrial or military aluminum alloy known then, or even today. The lab scientists said this material was not only unusual in its purity, but also fundamentally different from the typical industrial-grade aluminum used in manufacturing in the 1940s. For decades, the U.S. Air Force has maintained that the Roswell debris came from a classified high-altitude surveillance balloon program called Project Mogul. And in 2025, a new analysis matched the flight data and technical specifications of that program to the crash location, which seemed to close the case for some investigators. But not for everyone. Several recovered metal fragments still don't match materials listed under Project Mogul at all. That lingering question won't go away. And for the families of witnesses who reported seeing non-human bodies at the crash site, No official explanation has ever directly addressed their testimony. Before we go on, like, subscribe, and enable alerts. They told Congress the plain truth today openly. In July 2023, something extraordinary happened inside the U.S. Capitol. A decorated former military intelligence officer testified to a congressional oversight panel, under oath, that for many decades the U.S. government has secretly run a program to recover non-human craft and reverse engineer their technology. He didn't whisper in a hallway or post online anonymously. He said it on camera, publicly, under oath, before the world. He stated that his conclusions were based on interviews with over 40 witnesses with direct knowledge of the program, conducted over 4 years of an official investigation. He further claimed that biological material of non-human origin had been recovered from some of these craft. He also testified that people had been injured in attempts to cover up this information and that he himself had been denied access to the program despite his security clearance level. A major legislative amendment was then introduced in Congress. It would have compelled government archives to collect all documents related to unidentified phenomena, technologies of unknown origin, and more specifically, non-human intelligence. Bipartisan support for this measure was notable, with prominent members of both major U.S. political parties endorsing it. The Pentagon's investigative office stated it had found no credible evidence of extraterrestrial activity. That statement didn't slow the number of former officials, military pilots, and government insiders still speaking out publicly. In February 2026, a new congressional hearing featured further testimony from a U.S. Air Force veteran and a U.S. Navy pilot, both describing encounters with objects in the sky demonstrating flight capabilities far beyond anything known to humanity. They turned abruptly at extreme speed, stopped dead without slowing, and flew in ways that outright broke basic aerodynamic laws. No official explanation has been provided to date for these encounters, UFOs and nuclear bombs. Here is a topic on which the official records have remained very quiet and which is genuinely difficult to dismiss. In October 2025, researchers at a California observatory published a major scientific reports paper, Under Nature, showing a statistically significant clear link between UFO reports and nuclear weapons tests. The researchers examined photographic plates dating back over 70 years that had been archived at the observatory, specifically looking for fugitive objects, meaning objects that appeared briefly in the sky and then disappeared. What they discovered was striking. Thousands of these star-like fugitive objects appeared in the archived photographs. Cross-checking this data with historic nuclear test dates made trend undeniable. These fugitive objects were 45% more likely to appear in the sky within 24 hours of a nuclear explosion. The scientists described this as a weak but statistically significant correlation, corroborated by independently documented UFO sighting reports recorded during these same testing periods. The researchers were cautious in their conclusions, but they included a particularly notable sentence in their paper stating that some of these fugitive phenomena could potentially be unidentified aerial phenomena around Earth, and could account for some UFO sightings if they enter the atmosphere. This sentence was written by established scientists in a peer-reviewed journal. This is not science fiction. This is a published scientific hypothesis and deserves to be taken seriously. In late 2025, UK military air bases logged about 20 unidentified incursions over 3 straight days. Craft entered controlled airspace, forcing nearby planes near base to land. No official identification of these objects has ever been made public. A long-running pattern links unknown advanced tech to nuclear sites in many countries, and it's hard to ignore. Signs of life discovered on Mars. While astronomers were scanning the stars for distant signals, something was quietly unfolding right next door, in our own solar system, on the surface of Mars. NASA's Perseverance Mars rover, exploring the G0 crater region, began sending back data containing features in Martian rocks that scientists struggled to explain through usual geological processes. These features were dubbed leopard spots, small patches a few millimeters wide, each surrounded by a distinctive dark halo. On Earth, identical rock formations directly linked to microbial activity, specifically fossilized ancient microorganisms. These same rock samples also tested positive for organic compounds, which are carbon-based molecules that form the foundation of all known life. Scientists emphasized that both the leopard spots and the organic compounds could theoretically have non-biological origins, but the combination of these two features appearing together in the same samples was described as deeply intriguing and unprecedented compared to anything previously collected from the surface of Mars on prior missions. At the end of 2025, scientists reviewing the full set of Mars exploration data called it potentially the most significant year in the history of Martian research. Samples gathered by Perseverance revealed clues that microbial life may have existed on Mars long ago, when liquid water still lay on its surface. About 3.5 billion years ago, Mars was warmer, wetter, chemically active. Geologic records clearly show it once had life-supporting conditions. A crucial detail that most people don't know. None of these samples have yet been returned to Earth for full laboratory analysis. This return mission is still in the planning and preparation stages. As soon as these samples arrive at a laboratory on Earth and are examined using a full suite of scientific equipment, we could get the clearest answer yet to one of the most fundamental questions in the entire history of human thought: Donald Trump's great alien secret. This brings us to the strangest and most recent development in this whole story, which occurred just a few days before this video was made. In February 2026, President Trump publicly said U.S. agencies would start finding and releasing classified records on UFOs, UAPs, and extraterrestrial life soon. He highlighted what he described as immense public interest in these topics, stating that he had personally met credible individuals who reported seeing genuinely strange phenomena in the sky. A few weeks after this announcement, something completely unexpected happened. The White House quietly registered a new official government domain name, alien.gov. None of those websites were online or active at the time of registration, but the timing was impossible to ignore. Betting platforms reacted almost immediately, with about $17 million placed in wagers tied to this news alone, and the odds on the government disclosing information about aliens reportedly hit their highest level ever recorded. The Pentagon confirmed it was collaborating with the White House and other federal agencies to compile existing files and facilitate the prompt release of previously undisclosed information on unidentified aerial phenomena. ODNI said separately it will soon declassify files on extraterrestrial life, unidentified aerial phenomena, and UFOs, but gave no exact timeline still. A 2025 documentary featuring former government officials publicly claimed that non-human life forms were present on Earth and had been the subject of a government cover-up for decades, which generated significant interest from major media outlets. Let us know what you think in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss new videos.